So with the NBA 76 season coming up, I want to talk about the top 20 players coming into this season. Here's are the rules for this list. You are not allowed to disagree. My list is facts and not opinions. No, I'm joking. But here are the actual rules. Guys like Kawhi might be ranked a little bit lower, since he's coming off an injury. Also like Paul George. Second, this list is my opinion. Feel free to disagree. But now let's get into number 20 on this list. Alright, so after some thinking, 20 on the list is a tie between 5 players. Those 5 players are Bradley Beal, Jaylen Brown, Zach LaVine, Kyrie Irving, and DeMar DeRozan. I just feel like I couldn't leave any of them off this list. So with that being said, I'm going to say their respective stats. Starting off with Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal last season averaged 23 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists, and had a TS of 53. Now let's move on to the next player tied for 20, which is Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown last season averaged 23 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists, and had a TS of 57%. Now let's move on to Zach LaVine. Last year, Zach LaVine averaged 24 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists, while having true shooting percentage of 60%. Now let's move on to the fourth player. The fourth player being Kyrie Irving. Last season, Kyrie averaged 27 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists, with a 59 TS percentage. Now let's move on to the final player tied for 20. That player being DeMar DeRozan. Last season, DeMar DeRozan averaged 27 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists, and had a TS of 59%. With that being said, that's number 20 on my list coming into next season. Now let's move on to number 19 on the list. Number 19 on this list, I have James Harden. Last year, James Harden had a pretty rough season. He wasn't playing like his normal self. But with that being said, James Harden averaged 21 points, 7 rebounds, and 10 assists. And he had a TS of 60%. With that being said, I think he'll be the 19th best basketball player in the world. Now let's move on to 18. Number 18 on this list, I have Darius Garland. Last season, Darius Garland had a breakout year. In his breakout year, he averaged 21 points, 3 rebounds, and 8 assists, and had a true shooting percentage of 57%. I definitely think by the end of the season, Darius Garland will be a top 15 player in basketball. But right now, I have him number 18 on my list. Now let's move on to number 17. Number 17 might be a surprise. Number 17 is Anthony Davis. Like I said, injuries play a factor with my ranking. And last year, AD was hurt a lot. But let's get into his stats. Last year, AD averaged 23 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists. Of course, by the end of next season, I think AD will be a top 10 player in the world. But right now, he's number 17 on this list. But now let's move on to number 16. Number 16, I have Devin Booker. I low-key think Devin Booker is overrated. I see some people saying he's top 10. I definitely don't think that high of him. Who knows, he could be top 10 by next season. But entering this season, he's 16 for me. But now let's get into his stats. Last year, he averaged 26 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists, with a true shooting percentage of 57. And with that being said, I got him number 16 on my list. Now let's move on to the top 15 players in the world. Number 15 on my list, I have Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard is one of the most clutch players in this league, and one of the best point guards all around. But since last year he was out for most of the season, I have him number 15 on this list. But let's get into his stats. Last season, Damian Lillard averaged 24 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists, with a true shooting percentage of 55%. With that being said, I got Damian Lillard number 15 on this list. Now let's move on to 14. 14 is Donovan Mitchell. There may be a little bit biased with this one, but I definitely think Donovan Mitchell is a top 15 player in basketball. I mean, come on, he do dunks like this. But let's get into his stats. Last year, D. Mitch averaged 25 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists, with a true shooting percentage of 57%. And with that being said, he ends up number 14 on my list. Now let's get into 13. 13 is Paul George. Paul George, before he got injured, was having an MVP year, and he probably would have ended up higher on this list if he didn't get injured. But let's move past that and get into his stats. Last year, PG-13 averaged 24 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists, with a true shooting percentage of 53%. And with that being said, he's number 13 on this list. Now let's move on to number 12. Number 12 is very ironic. Number 12, I got Ja Morant. I like Ja Morant a lot, so this also may be a little biased. But let's get into what he did last season. Last season, he averaged 27 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists, and had a true shooting percentage of 57%. With that being said, he's number 12 on my list. Number 11 on my list is also very ironic. Number 11 is Trae Young. As much as I don't like Trae Young for what he did to the Cavs, I gotta respect him. Trae Young last season averaged 28 points, 3 rebounds, and 9 assists, and had a true shooting percentage of 60%. That being said, he's ended up number 11 on my list. Now let's move on to number 10. Number 10 on my list, I got Jimmy Buckets. Jimmy Butler is also one of my favorite players in the league, and I love all his playoff runs. With that being said, let's get into his stats. Last year, he averaged 21 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, and he had a true shooting percentage of 59%. So with that being said, Jimmy Butler is a top 10 player in the NBA. Now let's move on to number 9. Number 9, I got Kawhi Leonard. It just wouldn't feel right leaving him at the top 10, because he's definitely a top 10 player in the NBA. But sadly, he missed the whole season last year, so I can't say his stats from last year. But I can say his stats from the 20 to 21 season. That year, Kawhi Leonard averaged 24 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists, with a true shooting percentage of 62%. With that being said, Kawhi Leonard ended up in my top 10. Now let's move on to number 8. Number 8, I got Jason Tatum. Besides the finals, Jason Tatum was just amazing the whole season. He averaged 26 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists, and had a TS of 57%. And with that, he ends up number 8 on the list. Now let's move on to number 7. Number 7 is Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is going to be a top 5 player next year. I can already see it coming. But for now, I got him number 7 on my list. Last year, Luka Doncic averaged 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists, with a true shooting percentage of 57%. And with that being said, Luka Doncic ended up number 7 on my list. Now we head to number 6. Number 6 is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant averaged 29 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists, and had a 63 TS percentage. With that being said, he ended up number 6 on the list. And now we head to the top 5 basketball players in the world. Starting off the top 5, I have LeBron James. Last year, LeBron averaged 30 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists, with a 61 TS percentage. With that being said, he lands in the top 5. Now we head to number 4. Number 4, I have Wardell Stephen Curry. Steph Curry was spectacular, and he had an incredible and legendary year. And I definitely think he's the top 4 player coming into next season. So now let's get into his stats. Last season, Steph Curry averaged 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists, with a 60 TS percentage. With that being said, he's a top 4 player in the NBA. Now we head to the top 3. Top 3 players for me are all big men. So now let's get into it. Number 3 on my list, I got Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid last season averaged 30 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 assists. He also has a TS percentage of 61. And with that being said, he's top 3 in the NBA. And now we move on to number 2 on my list. Number 2 on my list, I got the Joker. Jokic last year averaged 23 points, 13 rebounds, and 7 assists. And he had a TS of 66%. The man was literally doing everything for his team. So with that being said, he's the number 2 basketball player in the world. And for number 1, the best basketball player in the world is Giannis Antetokounmpo. I don't really think this is a surprise. Giannis been the best player for 2 straight seasons. But let's look at his stats. Last year, Giannis averaged 29 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists, and had a TS of 63%. With that being said, he's the undisputed best basketball player in the world. But hey, that's all I got for this video. If you made it this far in the video, you might as well like and sub. Or don't, that's your choice. But that's all I got for this video. I'm out.